Welcome everyone to a very special Horrible Gamers Podcast Plus. You may be wondering what the hell is a Horrible Gamers Podcast Plus? Well, Patreon listener, that is a very special exclusive show only for Patreons. That's right. You people that have decided to financially support the show are getting exclusive, very exclusive content only available to you every day. From Monday through Friday, I will be dropping content for you via audio. So I will be talking about a different topic every day. And so let's see if you like it. Let me know your feedback on it. If you hate it, if you love it, let me know, because I will be doing this every day. So if you hate it, just let me know. Be like, I hate this. If you love it, let me know that too. So I keep doing it. It's all for you. I want to show you the appreciation for you supporting the show financially and for you taking that risk on us. I want to give it back and give you content to enjoy, whether it's driving, working out, hanging out, etc. This is special for you. So here's the very first Horrible Gamers Podcast Plus. Enjoy.
The latest on those two 12-year-old girls accused of nearly stabbing a friend to death, driven by the fictional Slender Man character.
Came upon a 12-year-old female. She appears to be stabbed.
She appears to be what?
Stabbed.
Stabbed?
Correct.
Okay.
Sir, you still there?
Yes.
Hi, sir. So, are you with this 12-year-old female?
Yeah, she says she's having trouble breathing. She said she was stabbed multiple times.
Stabbed multiple times?
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Are you with her right now?
Yes.
Is she awake?
She's awake.
Is she breathing?
In just a few hours, Morgan Geyser and Anissa Wire are due back before a judge who could decide if their case will be sent to juvenile court. Right now, the two 12-year-olds are charged as adults with attempted first-degree intentional homicide.
We went to the park. I didn't realize that it was actually going to happen until Morgan lifted up her waistband and showed me the handle of the knife.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a very special Horrible Gamers Podcast Plus show. And today I will be discussing a very serious topic. This topic is very dark. It will have lots of gruesome details. I will go into detail about certain acts of violence committed against a child by a child. So if you are the faint of heart or don't want to listen to anything dark, this may not be the right show for you to be listening to. Anyways, today I have with me Gunny Chief, Henley Merrill, my co-host. Henley, welcome, dude. Everyone knows you. Say hi.
Hey, hi, everyone.
So today, Henley, or Gunny, we're going to be talking about the Slender Man stabbing that happened back in 2014. Do you remember that?
I do.
Okay. Do you know much about it?
Yeah, I do know about it.
Okay. Well, we're gonna go through the details about this, and I'll catch you up. Don't you worry, Gunny. I'll give you all the deets, bro. All the deets. All right. All right. So, while we start this, I want to go back, and I want to talk about Slender Man himself. So, Slender Man is a fictional character. He is not real, people. As real as some of you may think he is, as real as my daughter thinks he is sometimes, he is not real. He is a made-up character. He is fictional. He is legit like Michael Myers. He is made up. He's a bad boogeyman that, is just kind of taken the world by storm on the internet. And people have made up tons of folklore and stories around him. So let's go back to 2009. On a thread called the Something Awful Internet Forum, there was a Photoshop contest. And in this Photoshop contest, people were encouraged to create Photoshop images of creepy things, right? Like what is the creepiest Photoshop you can make? What is the creepiest thing you can possibly come up with? So you had tons of tons of submissions. People were posting photos of abandoned asylums and, like the creepy looking asylum or a creepy looking hallway or a tunnel or a forest. Different things like this were being posted in the forum. And all of them were pretty creepy. But one of the creepiest ones, if not the creepiest, was a couple of black and white images that were submitted by a user called Victor Surge. That was his username. So Victor Surge decided to post these 2 black and white images, and they had groups of children in the photo. And in the background of these photos, very back in the back, you can kind of see an image that was photoshopped into it. A character, a very tall, skinny, very creepy looking character was wearing a suit, and you couldn't really see his face. His face was kind of blurred out. Kind of like a blank face, Gunny. Like it's just blank. It's just this weird, creepy looking character.
Yeah, no nose, no face, no mouth.
Yeah, so this dude posted these photos on this forum, right, on this Photoshop contest forum. But what he did that caught everyone's attention wasn't just the little creepy character in the background and the kids and the black and white photo. He actually added a caption to each photo. That's what made them stand out, because it kind of gives him a backstory, like an origin. Where was this photo taken? So on the first photo, the following quote read, "We didn't want to go. We didn't want to kill them. But its persistent silence and outstretched arms horrified and comforted us at the same time." Says the photo was taken in 1983. Photographer unknown. Presumed dead. So that's pretty fucking creepy, right?
Yeah, it is.
Under the second photo, Gunny, listeners, this is the following quote. It read, "One of the 2 recovered photographs from the Sterling City Library blaze. Notable for being taken the day which 14 children vanished, and for what is referred to as Slender Man. Deformities cited as film defects by officials. Fire at library occurred 1 week later. Actual photograph confiscated as evidence. 1986, photographer Mary Thomas, missing since June 13th, 1986. So now you have like a name. Now you put a name to this photographer in the second photo. Like now this is a real person. You made this person real. You made this photographer a real person now. So now like people really love this photo, right? They're like, yes, this is evidence. And obviously it's fake. It's Photoshop. But knowing the internet, of course, this didn't stop many, many people to start creating like stories around Slender Man character. People were saying like, Slender Man is real. I've seen Slender Man. Slender Man does this. Slender Man does that. So, I mean, this is kind of where Slender Man started, all the way back in 2009. Of course, he went viral, and there was multiple fan art, cosplay, creepypasta stories based around him. And even in the Something Awful thread, people were making stories up about this Slender Man. One user named Thorough Up actually made a story that was set in 16th century Germany involving a character called Der Grossmann, which was implied to be an early reference to Slender Man. So this guy was like, I know this, Der Grossmann is going to come get you at night. He's the evil, creepy guy that gets the kids, that behave bad and all this shit. So, this guy made this, story up, and people start reading these stories on the internet, and, I read a story, I tell Gunny the story, like, Gunny, have you heard of this Slender Man? And then Gunny goes and tells his wife, and his wife goes and tell her coworker, and by the time you've heard about it in your hometown, the story is going to be completely different from what I told Gunny, right? It's just changing. It's getting more exaggerated time over time. And it's just what happened to Slender Man. Of course, in 2012, there was a video game made about Slender Man. It was called Slender the 8 Pages. And within the first couple months of release, the game sold over 2 million copies. It was downloaded 2 million times on Steam, Gunny.
Wow.
2 million times. And then, not just that, but I mean, the game Got several different updates and, different ports, different styles of game. Another game that was made around it was called Slender Man Shadow. And then another Slender Man for iOS came out. Then the sequel, Slender the Arrival, came out in 2013. And then several independent films were made. I mean, lots of things are going around this Slender Man, right? Like, this is 2013, like Slender Man is in his full height of fandom. People know who he is. People are creeped out by it. And shit, I remember watching back in 2013 streams on Twitch of this Slender Man thing or whatever. This video game that was creepy. I remember seeing those videos. All the people overreacting and stuff. Like the YouTubers and the streamers overreacting to the Slender Man, the faceless character that would grab you if you look at him or whatever. Your screen turns to static.
It was very viral.
So yeah, he became popular. Yeah. Anyways, moving forward now to 2014. 3 girls, were friends. 12-year-olds at the time of 2014. They were all friends. So let's go back to that, that time. There was 3 girls in a town called Waukesha, Wisconsin. And one of the girls' name is Morgan Geyser. Another one of the girls' names is Anissa Weir. And Peyton Leutner is the third girl in this matter. So, on May 31st of 2014, Morgan and Anissa were hanging out. They were like best friends with this girl named Peyton. They were all best friends. Everyone knew that they were best friends from the past. They knew them. I guess they knew each other since they were like in 3rd or 4th grade. Like they've actually talked on the phone every single day. They were like BFFs forever. We're going to be best friends until we're old or whatever. Like that type of friendship when you're a kid. You think you have this best friend and you're going to be that person's best friend forever and ever and ever. Well, that's the kind of friendship these girls had. And in 2014, this friendship was kind of, used to attack one of the girls. Apparently, Morgan and Anissa had become very huge fans of Slender Man. They started reading creepypasta stories about Slender Man. They started reading the different things of Slender Man, the promise that he will take you to his mansion in the other world or whatever, like the other side, and he has a special hidden mansion that he lives in, and he pretty much either wants you to worship him or he's gonna get you. It's like pretty much just kind of like what it is, right? He's gonna get you or you worship him, or you better hope you never see him because he'll get you. So these girls at the time were very fond of Slender Man, and they wanted to join him in his world, I guess. His realm, I would call it. So they were planning to murder someone. To join Slender Man in his realm, they had to murder somebody to get Slender Man to like accept them, or you know what I mean?
Like a sacrifice.
Yeah, kind of like you sacrifice this person or any person really. It could be anyone, and you can join Slender Man in his realm. So these girls made a plan. Their plan originally was to stab their friend Peyton on May 30th. They invited her to come over for a sleepover, and her parents, knowing the other girl's parents, knowing the girls are friends, the girl was like, yeah, I'll go over for a sleepover. She came over for a sleepover, and everything seemed kind of normal at first. And the girls, Anissa and Morgan, later confessed to the police that they actually planned to murder her that night, but didn't. They didn't go through with it. They just couldn't. They didn't think they could get away with it, doing it inside the house. It was just not feasible to do it. And so they decided to do it the next day. And the very next day, on May 31st, they went out and they hung out in the woods near their house. I'm assuming, these kids live in Wisconsin, so they're pretty outdoorsy. I would assume that they're pretty outdoorsy, right? I mean, they live in Wisconsin. Waukesha, I don't know. I've never been there. It could be a very outdoorsy town or a very rural town. I don't know. I don't know if you ever been there, Gunny, but I haven't.
Just from watching the stories and the interviews and stuff, it looks very woodsy.
So they decided to go out there and play hide and go seek. During the time, they were like the girls. They walk up to the forest, and at the time, Peyton was like, I don't know, man. Like, should we really go into the forest? I don't feel comfortable going into the forest. And the other girls were like, come on, don't be a chicken. Let's go play hide and go seek. They kind of peer pressure her, like kind of like, come on, let's go. And Peyton didn't really want to go. From the get-go, she said she had a weird feeling in her stomach, like a gut feeling, like this isn't right. There's something wrong here. Like, why do they want me to go into the forest? This doesn't feel right. I want to go home. But the other girls kind of forced her to go into the forest with them. You know what I mean? Kind of like a peer pressure thing. We've all been there, where you don't want to do something, but you kind of get, your friends keep pushing you. And you're like, oh, I guess, We've all been there. I'm pretty sure you've been there, Gunny.
Absolutely. Yeah, especially when you're 12, you're a little more vulnerable.
Definitely. So she decided to go in there with them. And during the time they went in there, they were playing hide and go seek. And Leutner was actually with Anissa at the time. They were kind of split off. They were like the ones hiding from the other person who was it. They were playing hide and go seek. So we believe that Morgan was it. Anissa was with Peyton. And Anissa kind of told Peyton, lay down on the ground. Go ahead, lay down. And Peyton was like, what the hell? Okay. So she kind of lay down on the ground. But then Anissa sat down on top of her. Kind of like sat on top of her, you know what I mean? To pin her down. During the time they had her pinned down, Morgan showed up. And one of the girls had a knife. And apparently it is said that Anissa had the knife. I'm not 100% sure here, but it said that she handed the knife over to Morgan. And Morgan was kind of like, I don't know if I want to do this, but, like hold her down or whatever. So Anissa kind of held down Peyton as she was struggling to get up. And Anissa kind of told Morgan, just go crazy on her, go ballistic. That's what she's quoted saying, go ballistic. So the other girl, Morgan, started stabbing Peyton. Repeatedly, over and over, stabbing her with a 5-inch long kitchen knife that they took from their home. While she was pinned down, Peyton was stabbed 19 times. In her arms, her legs, her chest. Very brutal attack. I mean, there's blood everywhere. She's screaming for help. She's just freaking out at this point, trying to survive. And two of the wounds actually were very close to her heart. One of them was like a millimeter from her heart. They said like if it actually punctured her heart a little bit, but if it would have been a little bit to the left, I think it would have like crushed a major artery, and she would have pretty much had a heart attack and bled out within a minute, they said. So she's very lucky that didn't happen, but that could have happened to her. During the time this attack was happening, they were like, they kind of did the attack, and Morgan and Anissa kind of told Peyton, just wait here. We're going to go get help for you. So, like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? You're going to tell somebody to wait for you there after you just stabbed them a bunch of times, pretty much try to kill them, and you're going to tell them, wait here, I'm going to go get help for you? Like, no way, dude. So Peyton did the right thing. She struggled. She got up. And the girls left. Obviously, they left Peyton there thinking that she was going to bleed out and die. But Peyton was able to drag herself to a road that was nearby in the forest. Like, she knew this road was there, kind of, so she was dragging herself to get help. And then nearby, cyclist, like a person on a bicycle, was riding his bike nearby, and they noticed the girl, like this girl dragging herself out of the woods, covered in blood and leaves and dirt, and what the fuck, they were like freaking out, and they called 911. Paramedics showed up. They were like, holy crap, what the hell happened? They were freaked out. Everyone's freaking out, right? Everyone's freaking out at this point. Everyone's like, holy shit, what's going on? What's going on? Well, eventually the girl, Peyton, was able to tell police, paramedics, and her parents who did the attack, who attacked her. And she said it was my friend Morgan and my friend Anissa. I'm not sure she called them her friends, but I'm assuming she was like, I know them. I know who did this. This is who did it. At the time, Peyton couldn't really talk. She had to write things down on a piece of paper, like a notepad, and actually communicate that way because she couldn't physically talk. Her diaphragm was collapsed. They actually stabbed her in her diaphragm, so it kind of like she couldn't speak, and she was having trouble breathing and all that stuff. So they made sure, like, after surgery, she was able to write and communicate what happened. And real quick, after the police kind of were notified what happened, like who did this, they said they started a manhunt for these two girls in the forest. Like, these two girls were on their way to find Slender Man's mansion, and that's what they were doing. Like Peyton knew, like, they fucking think they're gonna go find Slender Man in the forest somewhere, and Slender Man doesn't exist, but they think he's out there, and they're looking for his house, like his mansion. He has a mansion in the forest, and the only way they can see the mansion is if they sacrifice somebody's life. They try to sacrifice mine, and now they're trying to find his mansion in the forest. And that's crazy, man. Like, to me, I'm just like, wow, at this point, right? Like, it's just, I don't know what to think, Gunny. Like, it's just terrible, man. Like, fuck.
Yeah, that is, like, how, like, who did they teach themselves, about Slender Man on the internet, as they say, or was somebody else involved at this point? That's what I'm thinking as well.
Yeah, it's just nuts, dude. It's just nuts. What is said that, like, they found Slender Man themselves. They found him on Creepypasta, the website, and they were just looking him up, looking up stories about him and his rituals and his myths and all this and that. Pretty much. Once they were caught near a highway, the knife they actually used in the stabbing, they were still carrying the knife. So, like, you can tell these are kids, right? Like, they're not trying to get rid of the murder weapon. They're not thinking like an adult would think if they attack somebody and try to murder them. These are kids, man. Like, we gotta think about, remember that. They're kids. They're 12 years old each. So, these two 12-year-old girls get arrested. The knife they used in the stabbing was actually in a bag that they were carrying, and both Nisa and Morgan were described as feeling guilty for stabbing their friend. So right away, like, they told the cops, "We did it. We're sorry." Like, we're sorry. They broke down crying, like, "We did it. We're sorry." But they both said that they did it because of Slender Man. They had to make him happy. They had to make Slender Man happy. And, man, just fucking wow. And this is when they actually said that, they actually planned to attack their friend on May 30th, the day before. During the sleepover, they said they planned to tape the victim's mouth shut. They were going to stab her in the neck, and then they were going to run away, like, from the house. Like, they were going to run away in the middle of the night. And they were like, they just didn't, because apparently Morgan it is believed that she had wanted to give Peyton another day to live, we're going to give her one more day to live type thing. And then another plan that they had, apparently, besides this stabbing at the sleepover, was they were going to stab her in a bathroom at a park. Like, hey, come to the bathroom with us real quick. And they were going to stab her in the bathroom and kind of relieve. But they were like, no, that isn't going to work, So they decided, like, the forest is the best way to do this. Slender Man's going to love it the most there. And that's where they were going to go. Anyways, after the stabbing, like, this made headlines everywhere. I don't know. I remember you probably saw this, Gunny. I know we talked about it on the podcast. It was crazy. It was fucking crazy.
Yeah, when I first, heard about this, immediately the video game popped up in my head because it had not been on at that time. I only had an Xbox 360, so that immediately came to mind was, did they do this because of the game? Was, what is their motive? What's, did they play the game? Is that what it was? But I had no idea about the backstory of Slender Man.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, I don't know if these girls actually played the game or not, because there's no mention ever of the video game when these girls are being interviewed, when they're being talked to. I mean, I saw some interviews with, CBS, CNN, like all these fucking shows, that do these crime, like, oh, we're going to talk to the victims, or we're going to talk to this person. None of these interviews mentioned a video game. None of them mentioned, Morgan and Anissa were into these video game, about Slender Man. They were watching the streamer play this game. Never mentioned, not once. What they do mention is that they found this Slender Man character because of creepypasta. So,
and
it's crazy.
And also it's related to some also cosplay and other items as well.
Well, it was very popular at the time. It was very it was just in the news. It was everywhere, man. Like, everyone was talking about Slender Man. Slender Man was the hot shit. He was like the Michael Myers of 2013, 2014, you know what I mean? Like, he was the shit. He was the scary guy to be that year. Like, think about that. Like, I mean, for example, like, if you think back to 2009, the scary shit was, like, all that found footage stuff, like Paranormal Activity, right? Like, that was the stuff back then that was scary. And, nowadays, I don't know what it would be. What would it be today?
I'm just thinking of it, but the clown.
The clown stuff?
That's coming. Well, I think that movie comes out pretty soon, the second part of it.
Yeah, so like the clown stuff was actually pretty popular there like a couple years ago, right? When it was coming out, it was being promoted. There was clowns everywhere. Remember that?
Yeah, and you've got Friday the 13th coming out again as well. Yeah. But I don't think it's relevant.
So like all these things were happening, and like Slender Man was just he was like in the culture. He was pop culture at the time. He was the thing that everybody wanted to be, everybody wanted to see, everyone was afraid of experiencing. And there's different rumors about Slender Man. There's rumors that, like, if you investigate Slender Man, he'll come after you. Dun dun dun. Like, he'll come after you and he'll haunt you and he'll try to get you or whatever. So like, if you even research him, he'll try to do that to you. There's rumors that he'll come and get you in the forest. If you live near a forest, be careful, people. I live near a forest, so I'm kind of creeped out. You know what I mean? I drive through a forest pretty much every day to work. It's kind of crazy. But apparently, after this whole stabbing incident, the day has passed. In the very next couple days, the Waukesha School District actually banned the Creepypasta wiki, like the website. Creepypasta was banned and blocked from the whole school district. Like, before that, kids could access Creepypasta anytime they wanted to. But after this stabbing, the school district wised up and they blocked content from Creepypasta, and kids couldn't access that anymore, which is a good thing, I think. The creator of Slender Man, Eric Knudsen, who was the guy who was under that Victor whatever handle that I told you earlier, he actually apologized. He said, like, look, quote, "I am deeply saddened by the tragedy in Wisconsin, and my heart goes out to the families of those affected by this terrible act." He said it was never his intention to, like, have Slender Man become this character that kids worshipped or people worshipped in general, and he said it's not real. Like, this guy,
this is fiction.
Yeah, pretty much. After this, the people who ran the wiki, Creepypasta wiki, they were they were out there trying to do damage control, and they said, like, look, this incident does not represent creepypasta, the community around creepypasta. He said, just because we like to read scary stories doesn't mean we are a bunch of murderers or satanic, we don't do satanic rituals. We're not anti-religion, none of this stuff. We just love reading scary stories. That's what we're into. Doesn't mean we're bad people in general. And to their credit, the members of the creepypasta, like the community, they did a 24-hour live stream on YouTube, June 13th to the 14th on 2014. And they actually raised money for the stabbing victim. So pretty much they helped raise some money for her medical bills and expenses that came out of the stabbing. Also, the governor of the state on August 12th in Wisconsin, Governor Scott Walker at the time, proclaimed that Wednesday, August 13, 2014 was going to be Purple Hearts for Healing Day. And he encouraged the state of Wisconsin, or the people of Wisconsin, to wear purple on that day to honor the victim of the stabbing. And they also had in Madison, Wisconsin, they had a Bratwurst festival to honor the victim on August 29th of 2014, where they had a bunch of people sell a bunch of hot dogs and stuff, like kind of like a little festival type thing. And they actually raised $70,000 to give to the family for the medical expenses of, the stabbing victim. It's terrible to see that this happened, but it does happen. And kids are very easily influenced, I think. So let's go into what happened to the kids after the attack. These are kids, remember that. In 2017, 3 years after the attack, Anissa Weir, she pleaded guilty to being a party to attempted second-degree homicide, but claimed that she was mentally ill at the time of the attack. So pretty much, she said, like, look, I did it, but I was mentally ill at the time. And so the jury found her not guilty by mental disease or defect. And Morgan Geyser accepted a plea offer in which she would not go to trial and she would be evaluated by a psychiatrist to determine how long she should be placed in a mental hospital. And she later pleaded guilty and was found not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect. So Anissa Weir was actually sentenced to 25 years to life, and pretty much in a mental institution. Like they pretty much said, like, look, you're going to be in a mental hospital for 25 years to life. But this sentence actually involved only at least 3 years in locked confinement and involuntary treatment in a state psychiatric institute. So pretty much they said you're going to have to do at least 3 years behind bars, right? Like, you're going to have to be locked up somewhere physically for 3 years. And then after the 3 years, you're going to be under supervision for 40 years after you're released. So she's 12 years old. At the time of the sentencing, she was, 15? Because it's 3 years later. So, they say you're going to be under supervision until, until she turned 40, actually. So now for 40 years. It was until she turned 40. I'm sorry, people. I'm sorry. I'm reading all these details. And Morgan was sentenced to, let's see here.
What was it? I thought Morgan was 3 years. I thought her plea deal.
No, that was Anissa. Anissa's was like a 3-year plea deal, like where she got sentenced 25 years to life technically, but a lot of it was like you got to spend at least 3 years behind bars, and you're going to be under supervision until you're 40. But Morgan Geyser, one of the girls, believe is who's actually stabbed the girl. I think they both stabbed her, but she was the one who kind of started it. She was actually sentenced to the maximum. She got 40 years to life in prison. And she, got sentenced to actually a mental institution because they said that, she was mentally incapable and like she was kind of mentally psychotic at the time of the attack. Like she wasn't mentally there, so they're like, we can't put you actually in prison, but we'll put you in a hospital. So that's kind of what happened. So now in 2019, January 9, 2019, a couple weeks ago, one of the two Wisconsin girls who pleaded guilty to stabbing a classmate 19 times in 2014 is now appealing her case. It says here that Morgan Geyser's attorney recently filed a court brief arguing that Geyser shouldn't have been prosecuted as an adult because the girl believes Slender Man would kill her family if she didn't stab her 6th grade classmate. It says here that they were both committed to mental institutions for stabbing Peyton. And Leutner, the girl who was stabbed, managed to crawl out and get help. So, I mean, looking at these pictures, dude, I'm looking at a picture right now of this girl. Like, her mugshot. She's a fucking little girl, dude. Like, it is insane. It is fucking crazy. Like, just wow. Just wow. Wow. Just, I can't wrap my head around it, Gunny. These little fucking girls, dude.
I just keep going back to there's got to be like an adult involved, but it's not. There's nothing here that, no evidence here that shows that.
Yeah, I mean,
not even the conclusion.
Yeah, and it's sad, man, because at the end of the day, these girls were 12, and they actually committed a crime that could have been murder. It was attempted murder for sure. And they legitimately committed the crime. They tried to kill their friend. They showed remorse. And they said that they were mentally ill at the time, which I could agree with. But they actually planned it out. And then that's kind of premeditation. They did, they had plans to do it. They even said, like, look, we were going to do it the day before. We were going to do it the night before in our house, but we decided not to, so we decided to do it the next day in the forest, and that's just kind of crazy to me.
Yeah, that's definitely premeditated murder. And when I read that when Anissa, I believe, was the one that held down Peyton, held her down. She said she couldn't breathe. They even said, she said, "I can't breathe. You're holding, you're on my chest."
Mm-hmm.
That just gave me chills.
Yeah, Peyton at the time said I couldn't breathe, and the other girls were just kind of like, whatever, like, we're going to kill you. Like, who cares if you can't breathe? It's saddening to read this stuff, but I want to read it because, this stuff happens, and I want to bring it to the light. I want to let people out there know that, some people may associate this with the video game Slender Man, and now that it had nothing to do with the video game. But yet, most people that see this or hear about this story or somebody tells them about the Slender Man stabbing, oh yeah, those girls were playing that video game. It's like, no, they weren't. They weren't playing that video game at all. They were just fucking reading shit on the internet.
After seeing this on the news, and it was on every channel, everywhere, I never played the game and still have it to this day.
Yeah, I never played the game myself. I've, of course, seen it. Slender Man continues to be a topic that kids talk about. Obviously, my daughter has brought him up a few times. She's mentioned him to me, like, oh, Slender Man. And I'm like, I always have to tell her, like, I make sure to tell her, Slender Man isn't real. She's like, what? I'm like, Slender Man isn't real. Like, he is made up. He's a fake thing. You know what I mean? Like, I try to tell her, like he is not real, but little kids are not going to really believe you. They're always going to be creeped out by it. But you got to kind of like reassure them, you know what I mean? Like, it's not real, don't believe in this stuff. It's entertainment. And that's kind of like how I always raise my daughter. I always try to, she's watched zombies and stuff. She was like a little girl, so she doesn't really believe in zombies and none of that other creepy stuff. So she doesn't. I'm pretty sure, like in the back of her head, she knows Slender Man isn't real. Even though she is kind of creeped out by him, I could tell. She probably knows he isn't real.
Yeah, and my son would have been 7 at the time, and I know he had his Galaxy Tab and YouTube and things like that, but I don't recall him ever bringing that up or us ever having a conversation about Slender Man.
Yeah. He obviously knows who Slender Man is. If you go and ask him, like, yo, who's Slender Man? He's going to tell you exactly who Slender Man is.
For the listeners out there, if, for you guys remember, guys and girls remember back then where if it was viral, it was on every channel, it seemed, I think today's a different time.
Definitely.
Where we've got a wide variety of content.
Yeah. I just want to say real quick that Morgan Geyser did have a family, and so did Anissa, and so does Peyton. They all have families. They all have parents. And at the end of the day, these were children. And I want to mention real quick that on Facebook, there is a Support Morgan Geyser Facebook page type thing. And her family has been posting photos of her. And you can't help but look at a child. You're like, man, this is a little girl, They post photos of her at the forest, photos of her petting her dog, photos of her smiling, being cheesy, photos of her being goofy. They post stories about her. They post how unfair it is to sentence a child to 40 years behind bars in a mental institution, while her friend got 3 years behind bars and out. She's kind of out or whatever. After the 3 years, after she serves the 3 years, she can have the possibility of being released. I mean, personally, I feel like I don't know where I stand on this, Gunny. I don't.
Yeah, it's hard.
And it's not funny.
Hard.
I'm not laughing at the case. I'm not laughing at the matter. I'm laughing at myself because I'm like, how the fuck would I judge this? I don't know how I would judge this. How do you sentence a 12-year-old that attempted to kill somebody, but you know that they were mentally influenced by this thing that isn't real? How do you judge that?
And also, and I'm not sure where I stand on it either because, I have a brother who's not much younger than I am, and, we're now in our 40s, and he spent time in and out of mental institutions, and he's never been truly a violent person, but, I mean, how do you... The other thing would be that, I don't know, how much time do you give? Do they go to the actual prison? Are they only mentally ill for a certain amount of time before they're cured? Is that's the other thing too, How do they determine that? To say that, yeah, you're now cured, or now you've completed your sentence from what you've been, institutionalized.
Yeah. I mean, so I'm looking at some posts, on the Facebook page that they have here, and, there's a link where it shows that Morgan Geyser is appealing her 40-year sentence and the Slender Man stabbing. And there's people on here commenting, these girls, they deserve a chance, no matter what they did. We understand that what they did is horrible, but at the same time, they were just children when it happened. They need to be treated instead of punished. And I would argue that being sent to a mental institution is showing that they do want to treat these girls instead of punish them. Because they could have been sent to prison, right?
Right. They could have just said, yeah, that's it.
You're not mentally ill. You're going to prison no matter what. You're going there. That's where you belong. And they didn't. They sent them to a mental hospital for mentally ill people. So, yeah. But lots of these, it's just sad to me that, lives were ruined. And all over, this fake fucking character that's made up. And these girls were influenced by stories surrounding him. Stories that weren't real. Stories that were just made up.
It almost makes me question my own mind where I think, is Slender Man real? Like, well, it's real to them. You know, I mean, I know he's not real. He's a fictional character, but they believe he's real. That just boggles my mind.
I mean, they, like, for example, like, Morgan thought, like, Slender Man was going to kill her family if she didn't do this, you know? Like,
yeah, that's the thing where, if they don't do this, you know, they're going to come after them.
And that's the last thing they wanted, you know? It's sad, dude. It really is. And I feel bad for the victim, too. Don't get me wrong. The victim she's the victim of this whole situation. She had nothing to do but go with her friends to hang out. And you know, she ended up being attacked by her best friend. You cannot imagine how that would probably feel. That betrayal, that mistrust, that you'll never have trust with people again. Something like that happens to you. And that's damaging, you know. And I hope that in life, you know, that she got through it and she survived. I hope that she's in a good place, you know, and I hope that she's doing well. I hope that she's thriving. I hope that I'm wrong. I hope that she has a lot of friends and she trusts them and all that.
And also that she's getting the psychiatric care that she obviously needs. Not like institutionalized, but from, you know, I'm not even talking medication, but just someone,
you know.
Yeah, a doctor.
Yeah, because she went through a lot, dude, and she actually had to learn how to talk again and all that stuff because of the wounds that she received. It is said that she returned to school that very next school year, went back to school or whatever, and, you know, started living her life again. And I'm proud of her. I'm proud of her for doing that. I'm proud of her for being able to, you know, stand up and be like, you know what? No, like, I'm going to continue living my life. Don't let this let me down. So props to her. Shout out to her. You're awesome, Peyton. You're a very awesome girl. But as for Anissa and Morgan, they were just two 12-year-old girls that I believe were just misled and influenced at a very young age. Very easy influence. Like, you can influence a kid, man. And a 12-year-old kid is so easy to influence, dude. Like, that's why, unfortunately, we see so many bad things happen, you know, to young kids because they just watch TV. They're influenced by so many things, by not just video games, but movies, etc. You know, everything influences them and their friends and everything, you know, around them. And who knows how these girls got to know Slender Man?
We don't know the
really
details.
true.
It could have been, you know, was it just creepypasta? Was it a compilation of
was it their
videos?
friends? Yeah, their friend coming up with like, oh, have you heard of this Slender Man guy? And they're like, what the fuck is Slender Man? Like, oh, you haven't heard of Slender Man? You fucking suck. You're dumb. Look at you don't know who Slender Man is. Ha ha. You know, like, and then from there, you know, you go and you Google Slender Man and you find a YouTube video. Then you find a YouTube video. You find another video that shows Slender Man in real life with found footage. It's just like all these things happen, dude, and it could just be you know, like a little snowball, just snowball that keeps growing.
It's, you know, speculation could be that Morgan and Niece were just going down that rabbit hole, you know, our evil place they went to,
and they got pretty deep, and now they're paying the consequences for that. Luckily, at the end of the day, no one died, you know. Because it could very well turned out that the girls they could have got shot by the police. You know, like the cops could have shot them. You know, had they not like surrendered right away, had they decided like, you know what, we're gonna run at the cops with the knife. Cops could have shot them.
They had it in the bag. They could have been holding it.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like all that stuff played out in their favor, I think. And they're very lucky to be alive and to be, you know, they're not lucky per se for being locked up, but they're lucky because they're alive and they have a second chance of receiving treatment and maybe someday redeeming themselves, whether it's 5 years from now or 45 years from now. At some point, they'll be able to have that opportunity, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, and they've got mothers and fathers and siblings. themselves.
So think about that, guys. Like, there's victims and everything, and a lot of times the victims are the victims, but at the same time, the assailants, their families are the victims too, because their families suffer. Obviously, Morgan's family is suffering. They miss their daughter, their niece. They want her back home. They say it isn't fair for a justice system to treat her like an adult. And, so we'll see what happens. So anyways, this was the Slender Man stabbing story of Anissa, Morgan, and Peyton. 3 12-year-old girls who were friends back in 2014. And that was it. So I want to say thank you to the listeners out there. If you have a topic that you want me to discuss, go ahead and send it in. Email it at feedback@horriblegamers.com. And as always, I want to thank you, Patreon supporters, for being the people that support the show financially. And for that, I want to thank you so much. I want to just provide content for you, hopefully every day, as much as I can, to make it worth it your while. Thank you. Thank you, Gunny, for joining me tonight. It was awesome. It was crazy talking about this. I didn't think I was going to get that deep into it, but we apparently did.
Yeah.
Wow. Just wow.
Thank you, listeners. I appreciate it.
Anyways, I'll be back tomorrow with another topic. May not be so dark. Maybe lighthearted or something, So I'll be back. Goodbye.
Later.